And what's going on? Fontaine here, VIPSoundlab.com, and we're back on Maschine 2.6.5, this time with a member tutorial request on how to pitch shift samples inside the Maschine as well as time stretching. Now, this is something that we covered in the past. You can take a look at some of our previous videos that we did, I don't know, about 2 weeks back, and we showed some real-time pitch shifting using Contact 5, which has an amazing, awesome engine with the Time Machine Pro, which I was wondering, I really don't know why Native Instruments just won't really incorporate that into Native Instruments Maschine, but perhaps they will in the future. All right, anyway, let's get the questions answered. And what I did right here was I selected a sample. Pretty dope vinyl dig. And on group A, I have the drums here. If you want to follow along at home, I'm using the sample and drums library, which is this kit here. As you can see right here, it has some amazing sounds. And we're using chop kit, let's see, I think it's 21. Yeah, it says right here, chop kit 21. So just, I made a simple beat, just like a boom, crack, boom, crack. Just like a nice little vibe. I didn't put no swing on it, nothing special like that. So when I slice up these samples, you got to forgive me on the camera, if I'll be off beat or something like that. 'Cause, this is live. I don't have a pattern over here under the sample. But anyway, okay. One dope thing when it comes to Maschine, you have all these tools right here. You have truncate, normalize, reverse, fade in, fade out, DC correct, silence, cut, copy, and paste. So basically you can come in here and, for example, let's say we had a click and a pop in a record. I can silence that section like that, take that click and that pop out. Another thing you might want to do towards the end of your sample, I don't know, I'm just making some different scenarios in my mind here. I don't know, you might fade a sample out. I can control Z that back, bring that back. You might fade a sample in, you might, this little section right here, for example, you might like this little section, you might copy it, and you might say, I want to repeat that maybe over here or something like that. Come over here, then paste that joint in, boom. All type of ways that you can manipulate your samples and your sounds in here. And of course, this is your start bracket, and this is your ending bracket of your sample. So if you want to fine tune your sample, and truncate certain parts in your sample, you can do that. But for the slicing, you have different tools. Okay, so if I go into my slice menu here, for example, you have a slicer tool here for manual. Let's say if I want to click this guy, it turns to a knife. And if I want to come in here and do some manual slicing like this here, adds a slice point. Okay, your second pad lights up. So that's one sample. Then you have your second sample there, and then you can overlap them. Like come over here and stop the sample. I can adjust the start and end point no matter where I'm at. If I press edit from this point right here, okay, you can go into the edit screen and edit those samples. All right, so let me control Z that out, and I'm gonna go to the auto chop, which it basically defaults to now, and I'm gonna slice up some of this audio. But first, under the edit screen, here's your time stretch settings. Just so you get a good understanding for this, it's auto detecting the beats per minute. You have a tune icon here, if you want to pitch the sample up or pitch the sample down. But a lot of members are saying, hey, I'm pitching the sample up, I'm pitching the sample down. And let's say, for example, you have, if I go over here and let's say this is a 2-bar loop, for example, to fit the sample. Okay, and let's say you have the sample, okay, like this. Okay, and it's playing out, but let's say the sample is dying out like around the second bar here, or maybe it might just be like a little bit short, and then you're finding out it's not fitting right, and you got to adjust your beats per minute because the time stretch is an offline time stretch, so you can't hear it in real life. So you have to kind of play with it a little bit to get what you're looking for. And the time stretch is not a true, the pitch shift is not a true pitch shift as of yet. Where we currently stand, because what happens is when you pitch shift, you don't want to affect the speed of the sample. You just want to affect the pitch. Keyword, affect the pitch only. If you're pitching it up, you want to be in that key, but keep the total duration of the sample, and that is the key. And I'm going to show you a trick what you can do, how you can actually pitch the tune without affecting the speed. Very simple. Very easily. It's almost a no-brainer, easy. And I think you're going to really enjoy this. So let me slice up some of this audio. So let's say, for example, for whatever reason, let's say the tempo of this session, I'm going to do something ridiculous. I'm going to put 200, which is a speed I personally would never do because I mainly produce hip hop. But let's say if I went to the new beat per minute down here and I tell Maschine, hey, look, I want this 2-bar loop to be at 200 beats per minute. I need you to speed it up from 77.1. So what happens is you come over here and you press apply. You have a 4-minute correction here. Some people like to turn this on. They say it leaves less artifacts in it. 9 times out of 10, I think that works best for vocals though. And you have beat mode here and free, where you actually can, speed or slow the sample up down using free mode. So that, there's many ways you can do it. So if I press apply here, okay, and let's say I go over and press the sample, we can take a listen to that. Now, of course, that's extremely, extremely drastic. I mean, that was like super, super quick. But you get the idea, and I control Z it back. Here's the original. Okay, or another example I might do, let's say I'm going to tune it up, maybe like 4. Okay, matter of fact, to make this even more clearer to understand, let me go ahead and put this back at 0, because in case someone doesn't understand what I mean by this. Okay, let's go here and let's put the actual sample in like this. Okay, now when I play this back, it's going to loop perfect. 77.1 like this here. Let me go ahead and rewind that, and let me mute group A right quick. Let's rewind that. Okay, you see that joint is perfectly looping. See, but what happens, the problem is when you pitch it, okay, let's go over here and let's pitch this up to, let's say, +3, because let's say I like the key in that. And then I went ahead and I applied it like this here, and then come back over this way. See the problem? Your sample, you got all this blank space on the end because it's speeding it up because of the tune. It's not tuning it here. You could tune it here too, but where it's tuning it at is when I'm stretching it here. It's an offline time stretch, so I can't hear it in real life. And you notice that it speeded it up drastically. That's something that you don't want. So, I left the beats per minute the same and everything like that. So let me go ahead and control Z that out, because that's something that you don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under this slice settings. Okay, I'm going to manually slice up these little slice points just to give me something to work with for the video. Okay, and I think I want to add just one more slice point right here, and we'll turn the slice thing off. Nothing major. I'm just using, well, let me add one more. I'll add, let's see, we'll add this little point right here, and we'll add this little point right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we made 6 little slice points. Okay, now I'm not going to worry about tuning this or anything like that yet, because I have a trick at the end of the video. I'm going to show you how to do the real-time pitch shift without affecting anything. So here's what I like to do. Everybody has a different flow. I take these samples and I drop them on the sounds like this. This is basically how I do my, if you guys watch my videos, you guys already know how I slice and chop up my samples. This is the way I do it 9 times out of 10. And I like to overlap them too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift on one and shift on the last. I'm going to go back to my voice settings. I'm going to put all these in the same choke group. And if I want to just really bug out, I can put it on legato. But I'm going to go ahead, put them in the same choke group. Let's say choke group 1. Okay, and let's make sure that they're cutting each other off on my pads here. Okay, so everything's choking each other off. So then from that point, you want to go into your edit screen. Your edit screen, this is where you're basically going to truncate your samples. Okay, so you have your start and your end points. And I'm gonna zoom in on the endpoint a little bit like this here. Okay. And what you're gonna want to do is you want to go under truncate, okay, and click apply. That truncates your sample. Then you go to your next pad. You know, from this point, you're just working. You know, you're going in there, you're finding out how you want to get your sample truncated. Start with your starting point. I love the way those tones were sounding right there. All right, so now we have our slices. All right, so let's say, for example, I want to audition these samples, you know, make sure that they're cutting each other off. Okay, you see everything's cutting each other off. So now with the beats, now when you want to organize your patterns, okay, you have different patterns up here, you know, under the arranger section in your ideas view. Okay, here's your scene view. Now we did a video on this, I think it was about a week back. So, you know, if you want to organize your patterns, basically what happens is in your idea view, this bracket here is basically going to give you control and access to all these groups here. Now, when you solo a group like this, you can solo a group by right clicking, okay, or you can click a group and you can mute it like so. And again, we just covered a video on that, so you might want to take a look at that. And what happens is when you're adding extra groups, basically what happens is the idea view for that scene, you get access to any pattern that's in here. And when I go like this, like I'm moving my mouse up and down like this, see how you can access as many patterns as you want. Like if I put a pattern, let's say, for example, right here, and let's say just for example, that was one that I needed to get to. I have this pattern way up here, and then I have this one way down here, and then it gives me more space. So it's an endless amount of patterns. And I'll just take this guy off because I really don't need it. I'll delete that. So in my opinion, you really don't have to go down here really, because, you know, I guess just if you want to monitor it, maybe for whatever reason, you might want to come in here and rename your patterns down there or something like that. But you can come up here and double click this to, you know, take a pattern off, bring a pattern on. You know, if you want to rename it, you can go in there and name it. I don't know. You could put, let's say, for example, I'll put sample chop. And then over here, let's say if I put drums. Because what happens is when you make your edits in these patterns, you make edits across the board. Like when you're over here on your arranger, you have your scenes, and your scenes are being arranged, or rather your patterns are being arranged in the scenes. Okay, so when you're over on here and you're arranging your patterns from your idea view, you get an idea of what sounds good, what doesn't sound good. You know, when you go ahead and implement them in, then they'll appear over here under your arranger. And again, we have a very detailed video on that. I'm trying to just not get too off subject. Okay, so I'm going to delete this group C right here because I really don't need it. All right, so we got the beat really slowed down. Let me go to that group right quick. Here's the drum pattern. Oh, you know what? I forgot on that group B when I was doing that example for you guys. I left that on there. Let me take that off. And let's go back to group A. Here's a really simple drum pattern. Okay, nothing special, just a boom, crack, boom. You know, the only way I can explain this, and it's so hard to explain, but when I make my beats for when I'm slicing and chopping, I like to start off with a simple pattern first. I like to start off with just a boom, crack, boom, crack. You know, you might want to try that at home. Now, for the more advanced users, I know you guys, this is nothing for you, but for like the beginners who's just getting into this, who want to learn it, you know, I would say start off with a simple boom, crack pattern, because it allows you to get your ideas in and fit your samples and audition them better. So what I do, you play the beat and then you go to the group that has your samples on it. And then from that point, just figure out the type of vibe you want to do. The first sample, I always mute this because if you accidentally hit the button, it could drive you crazy in the track. So you're basically starting with your second pad from this point here, because that's where the sample is. So when you're playing the beat, you can audition your samples. Tap. You just vibe it out in your mind. You know what? As a matter of fact, that's another thing I like to do too. Let me I'll take that little point right there. And this is something else I want to show you. You actually can extend the range of your samples by doing this. That little sound might not sound like much, but it can really help you out, like filling in the blank spots and samples if it's not fitting correctly. So for example, let's go back to the drum beat. As a matter of fact, I can hear right here in this beginning sample right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna activate this one. I'm gonna switch this one for this one, and I'm gonna mute this one and use this because I didn't really leave a lot of meat on the end of that, and that's the cool thing, So I can go back here and I can just add this guy back in here, add him in the same choke group. I already got him in there. Okay, good. So let's make sure that first one is actually cutting it off too. Okay, so cool. We got that back in there. So now I can audition the sample. All right, so that's chopping that off. I'm gonna zoom in on that joint and scroll this way a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to visualize the beat actually in my mind as I'm slicing these up. All right, so basically I'm just filling out the sample, and that one part, remember when I was explaining to you how you can extend out your sample to fill in those blank spots. Let's say, for example, I was doing it like this. I have this little point right there to fill in a blank spot if I needed it. You see what I mean? So it's basically however you want to slice and chop up your samples. This is the way I do mine. So then I know, sometimes you like to come in here, you can overlap samples with Maschine 2. I believe that started with 2.0 if I'm not mistaken. I really don't remember. Don't quote me on that. But when you can overlap samples, take advantage of that, because what happens is you don't want your sample too short, as I made a mistake in the beginning of the video, and you might take off a little too much meat. You want to have some of them endpoints overlapping when you're cutting off your samples, because you don't want any of those like little blank the little sounds that drive you crazy because it's too short. So just remember, more is good. All right, so that's basically how we do that. Okay, so now you're like, Fontaine, where does the pitch shift come in at? Okay, so of course, when you do your time stretching the original sample, I know some people do it that way. I just don't like to do it that way, man, because when it like you could come in here, you can pitch shift and time stretch like even the smallest minute parts. Like, for example, let's say if I just want to time stretch a little tiny small part like this little part in here, if I just wanted to time stretch this little section here, I could do that, extend it, make it longer. Or I might just want to time stretch this little section right here. I'd rather time stretch this little section right here. You can do that, but when it comes to the pitch shifting, it's better to get control over everything at once and then hear it at real time. It helps you tune it better in your mind. So what I found, okay, on this computer right here, I'm still loading everything up on this computer, so be patient with me, guys. And this is a new computer, so I just, I didn't migrate anything over yet, so it's taking me just a little bit longer than I expected. You can see right here, I just put the Logic Pro X on there. I'm making that template because I've been getting requests on that, and I was testing some things out on there, and that's, believe what I say when I tell you, wait on this Logic Pro template, fam. I got something for you guys. But all right, so yeah, the pitch shift. Okay, so being that I don't have a lot of plugins inside this one yet, I'm going to use the internal Apple plugins, from Logic, for example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this great little handy little plugin, this little Apple built-in plugin. It's called New Pitch. Okay. Now, it doesn't have a fancy GUI or anything like that. So if you click on it, don't think something's going to pop out. It's not. But what is important is that you have the pitch scale. Now, remember in the beginning of the video when I was mentioning the pitch scale is important when you want to speed up the sample without affecting the time of the sample. And that's why the pitch scale is very important. It has overlap. I think I have it at 8 voices right now. And it also has peak locking. So I put it over the group icon because I want to affect everything in the audio at one time. Everything. I want to affect every one of these audio points at the same time. So what happens is, let's say let me put it like this so you guys can see it better. This is the normal pitch of the sample. Okay, so if I go to, let's say, the sense of it, and let's say I lower it down, I want to do something very minute. Let's just start with maybe 108. You know, you get the idea on that. Now notice how it's changing the pitch, but not the time. It's not speeding it up to some ridiculously fast tempo. You know, it's changing the pitch, but it's keeping, you know, the timing of it smooth, and that's what I like about it. You know, you might have to refine your groove. You know, maybe I'll speed this up a little bit. You know, it's up to you, because some people like to speed the samples up, some people like to slow them down. You know, Kanye West does this a lot. He might speed it up to say like you know, you might do it like that. But you gotta be careful with it, because it can sound kind of chipmunky if you go too high. You know, see what I'm saying? I don't like it to get too high. I like mine kind of. I like my samples almost dragging. People be like, "Man, you got that thing dragging. Turn that up." Nah, I like it like that, man. You see what I'm saying? And then from that point, you can make different, you know, drum patterns in here, you know, get them recorded in, you know, and then have different, you know, patterns in here to figure out, you know, exactly, you know, how you want to go through, you know, add a little pattern here, add a pattern here, add a pattern here. You know, you might want to change up your drum loops, you know, and then once you're committed to one of your patterns, for example, sample chop here, you might have drums here. When you go over here under your section view, when you add it in, everything will be nice and organized. For example, pin to arrangement. You know, you come in here and, you know, add your drums here and your sample chops here because you like this idea. In other words, you know, so those drums, if I went to pattern 2, for example, let's say I want to take these drums, you know, like this here, copy them like this, and then come over here and then paste them in like that. And that's right click and paste it in. And you might have to make just a little slight little adjustment on that. No big deal. And then over here, you know, you might want to, you know, change something up. I don't know. You might have had an extra kick. You might have took a snare off. Maybe, you know, maybe the snare wasn't on there. You didn't like that snare there. So now you have a completely different pattern. So when you're making your beat, you can come in here and switch it up however you want to switch it up. You know, and then once you know, if you like an idea like this with the snare missing, when you go back over here, it follows through in your arrangement. You see pattern 2's right there. Okay, so you have, if I wanted the original pattern here, I select that. When I go over here, it follows through. So basically whatever happens inside this little bracket here, it follows through on the arrangement, the pattern arranger here. All right, so That's pretty much it, man. I really can't think of a easy way to time stretch. I'd rather pitch shift your samples in real time. Again, I'm using this little new pitch plugin. I think that works pretty dope in my opinion. And just for someone to get an even better understanding of that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete these slices here. I'm going to go over here, re-engage this, and let's see. Actually, that probably wouldn't be a good example. I'll tell you what, let's do it like this. This will make a better example. Let's do it like this. Let me grab something out of here right quick. Let's grab under monster chops. I'm looking for something really long. I'll use this. And let's go ahead and set the, I want to turn this off. I'm going to go to sound. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you this right now. The polyphony is good. So let me speed this up, or rather shorten the sample a little bit.
How did I end up here? Can somebody tell me? How did I end up here? Where are the trumpets? Why don't the people cheer? Can somebody end up? How did I end up here? Where are the trumpets? Why don't the people cheer? How did I end up? The trumpets. Everything's different. Everything's different.
All right, so I'm going to truncate that. I was looking for something dope in that joint, because you know, when a lot of times when you do slice and chop up some samples, you're looking for something real dope in that joint. And to me, that was kind of sounded ill. It's kind of like a RZA type joint right there. You know, already it sounds like a kind of like a hot loop, just like that, man. Yo, that's from my monster chops and banging break drums, the break beats. He be digging in them samples, and that's some, man, trust me, there's a lot of ill gems in that joint. And you know, trust me, there's some nice dusty things on there. And if you're worried about copyright laws and all about that, yeah, you got to get samples cleared. But at the end of the day, look what hip hop was built on. Hip hop was built on getting samples cleared. And 9 times out of 10, you won't even have to come out your pocket, because if you do go to a record company with a dope sample, 9 times out of 10, they got people in place to get them samples cleared for you. 9 times out of 10. So don't let people scare you talking about using samples. You listen to most modern day music today. For example, Beyonce, Kanye West. I mean, Kanye West's just about his whole album is samples. You know what I'm saying? Jay-Z, all that. A lot of hip hop artists will use samples. Even that Dirty South music, like a lot of people don't like, they use a lot of hip hop samples from vinyl. Most people don't know that. You know, they do a lot of interpolations and remakes and stuff like that. But yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with using vinyl if you know how to use it. You know, of course, you're going to get sued if you use a sample. If you're an idiot and you go out there and you're just going to just take a sample, a well-known sample, and just expect you're just going to just put it out there. Duh. Of course, it doesn't work like that. But at the same time, you know, you got to understand the game and understand the music, you know, when it comes to using samples. But anyway, I'm not going to run my mouth on that. I'm just going to be like, yo, for example, I'm going to go under the time stretch settings. Okay. You see right here. Okay. It's saying that the source beats per minute for this is 120.6. All right. So you type in 120.6. Again, it's for the novice people. You know, you advanced users, you already know how to do this. All right. So 4 bars, right? So I'm gonna go to new source beats per minute. I'm gonna put 120.6, even though I really don't have to, but I do this sometimes just in case with Maschine. It's 4 bars. Now I click apply on it like that. And I click apply on it, that shouldn't change at all.
Everything's different.
All right, so now we got a quick 4-bar loop. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna select 4 bars, boom, and I'm gonna put this sample in like this. And without a doubt, that's gonna be a perfect 4-bar loop. Okay, but anyway, this is going to prove the point that I'm trying to make when it comes to the real-time pitch shifting. So when I play this sample, let me make sure it's at a decent volume here. Okay, hold on, let's mute these drums, because now the tempo is so fast that the drums are getting messed up. The drums was like way too quick, but anyway.
Everything's different. Everything's different.
All right, so the loop might just be a little bit off at the end, but that's my fault the way I sliced it. But you know, I'm just giving you a point. You're gonna see basically the sample saying what's gonna be different. The sample in the song is saying everything's different. So let's say if I'm gonna slow this joint down, and I'm gonna let you demo it first. I'm gonna slow it down to like 48 cents negative.
Everything's different.
You see what I'm saying? But see, here's the thing. When I play it here,
Everything's different. Everything's different.
you see what I'm saying? You try doing that with Maschine without a plugin like this. I don't care how you time stretch it. It will not loop perfectly like this.
Everything's different.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you another example. I'm gonna slow it down crazy. You see how slow this sounded right here?
Everything's different. Everything's different.
You see how slow that joint is? So that joint is like, if I was over here and I was using these drums over here, for example. Yeah, those are drums for our sampled and drums kit. Like if you want some banging drums, crispy. Yo, you already know, man. VIP Soundlab. Yo, we got some banging drums. Probably the most slept on drums right now, yo. Yo, heads don't even know, man. We be doing sound design, man. We've been hiring a lot of independent sound designers. We going to studios, man. Trust me, man. We got some banging drums for y'all. But anyway, the producers out there, they know what's up. Yo, I'm not even fronting, man. Like, I ain't gonna say no names, but yo, we've had some majors, and I'm talking about some majors use some of my drum samples. I'm talking about major. I'm not gonna say no names, but trust me, millions of people have heard some sounds from the VIP Sound Labs and some of these tracks out here. You know what I mean? Quiet as kept. But anyway, yeah, you have to play like a really slow drum beat for this thing right here. For the second pattern on group B.
Everything's different. Everything's different. Everything's different. Everything's different.
I don't think I can even play that slow. I have that sample slowed down like super slow, man. Like that's negative 348 cents. And now I want to speed it up. I'm gonna do something ridiculous. I'm gonna speed it up to like 480. Kind of like that Kanye West style. You see what I'm saying? Yo, that's what I'm loving about this little plugin. Yo, and Kanye West will do this a lot in his music too, man. Using the MPC, of course, but you see what I'm saying? And it keeps the timing perfect, and that's what people have to understand when it comes to the real time pitch shifting. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about rendering it and then doing it, because it's still not going to loop perfect. But even with this plugin, I can actually do it while it's playing. Check this out.
Everything's different. Everything's
See, it almost sounds like a turntable, like you putting your hand on a turntable. That is real time pitch shifting, people, in real time. You know what I mean? It's your boy Fontaine, VIPSoundlab.com. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial video. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up below. We're running a little bit longer in this video than I expected. But hey, the members asked, we shall do. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.